They both ran it in the top side, which is an unusual situation, but someday may want to take the Fiora away. We could go for that Lulu as more of a flex pick here.
Well, this was, I think, pretty clever by KOO Tigers because, yeah, KT gets the Lulu, but that guarantees Smeb is able to take that Fiora once again.
And if he wants the Fiora, he can have it. They can take Fiora at least here.
Do you want to bring the Fiora against possibly the Lulu, though? What do you think about that matchup?
I don't like the Fiora against Lulu. More so for the team fights. I think Fiora can survive in the laning phase and still get some decent split pushing off.
Sure.
But you can just polymorph the Fiora when she tries to go in after she ults someone and completely shut her down.
Exactly, yeah. So we may see something a bit different. Will not be the choice this game, I guess. There's the Fiora locked in along with that Elise for Hojin. Hojin on your screen looking pretty confident about that pick.
This is going to give Someday a chance to possibly counterpick it, though. If he wants to go with something else, he now knows he is going to be facing that Fiora 100%. Score's been playing great on Gragas. Why switch it up now?
Someday is a very solid Lulu player, too, so they really have a lot of options over on this KT side. And they're going to just go ahead and grab one of these two junglers. Probably not both. We haven't seen a top Renekton or a mid Gragas for a very long time. Very long time. Although Nagne kind of made a name for himself originally on that mid Gragas way back in Season 3.
Whoa.
And that's going to be Kalista Rek'Sai locked in for KT.
I'm actually very surprised by the Kalista right here, unless they're using it as a denial pick against Prey, because with the Lulu, I was almost ready to just see the Lulu jinx that we've seen from everyone, especially against a couple of squishy targets early from the KOO Tigers.
Yeah, there's a lot of peel support still open too. For Peekaboo, should he want to use them, could have taken the Braum, could have taken the Thresh.
And there is Shen and Ashe locked in for the KOO Tigers, so it looks like it's probably going to be that support Shen. Once more, Gorilla played it quite well last game.
Yeah, they are showing this support Shen quite early, but in Gorilla's first professional game, he did do some nice work on it, able to pull out a win. And they've got another very strong kiting composition coming in here for KOO. Arrow hovering over his Draven, one of his favorite champions, but he hasn't had much success on it lately, and then Kalista already locked in.
Maybe mocking Prey, known as one of Korea's worst Draven players as well. Could be either one. Oh, and are we going to see that Malphite? Man, quite the wombo combo if Malphite goes in and then you've got the Wild Growth after that. Could be pretty scary for a champion that's not too mobile like Ashe.
It'd also be scary for KT for the intense lack of damage they will have if they go with this team composition.
Yes.
But they would definitely have a lot of crowd control and tankiness.
Alistar. And is it going to be Malphite? It looks like it is. Wow, that is a lot of engagement. This kind of reminds me of like the end of spring season KT, where they hadn't picked up Peekaboo yet. They didn't really kind of know what they needed to do to win, so they just started picking a lot of really heavy engage comps, and to be fair, it worked for them rather well.
Yeah, it's still very troubling if they get into the late game, however, because they really will be lacking in damage compared to the KOO Tigers. And
no,
no,
not the Kassadin, no. Okay, there we go. Now
Kuro's Victor makes perfect sense into this KT team, which is very tanky and frontline based. Victor is spectacular against these if he can avoid the initial initiation, because he can then throw down Gravity Field, get the move speed from his Q, laser through, and basically kill everyone. KT really needs to win this game quite early on, I feel like. But then at the same time, they have so much tankiness, they can invalidate the Fiora in the late game. Maybe that's their strategy against Fiora as well. It is definitely a different team composition from KT than we were expecting.
Yeah, and this one just screams out more 5v5 play in the mid game before a lot of the items start coming into play, and they can rely more on their base damages here to be successful. So KT, they're going to have to take these fights early, which is something that they haven't really been doing. They've been very elusive, you know, between 15 and 30 minutes. Yeah. But they really have to commit this time. And Victor, for Kuro, he is 17-4 all-time on this champion. It's a hugely successful pick for the KOO Tigers and something that is always a danger.
And he was like the first Korean player to really bring Victor into that scene as well, even way before it was common in the meta. Kuro was playing that Victor and he was getting wins on it too.
Yeah, I loved watching Kuro's Victor because Victor's always been a favorite champion of mine. So to see him bring into competitive play was part great and part awful because of the nerfs.
It is a cool channel. Well, guys, keep updating your votes on Twitter with that hashtag KTWin or hashtag KUWin at LOL Esports. Keep letting us know who you think is going to take this series. We are all tied up right now as we get on to Summoner's Rift for game number 3 between KT Rolster and the KOO Tigers. You know, maybe some people here don't know this, but Rolster is actually a combination of roller and coaster. I'm not making this up. They like to combine words like that in Korea.
And it's one syllable jammed right onto another.
Yep. Like CJ Entus. Entus is a combination of entertain and us. For whatever reason. It just is. Don't argue with it.
Today I learned.
Well, here we are.
I'm going to start combining words now and making fake team names.
Oh, yeah? Like what?
I'm not that quick. I'm going to do it later.
Oh, okay. All right.
Give me some time.
We'll wait for this. I'll come back to you in game 4.
All right. The timer's on.
And KOO Tigers pushing back, score a little bit early on.
Yeah, more aggressive play here from KOO. Over the course of the quarterfinals, we've seen less willingness to invade for some of these deeper wards. Gorilla out on his own over there, but
Shen's been spotted, but what else is new, really?
Here we are again.
Yep.
Another obvious Shen game.
Run at Shen. No, never mind. It's just Shen. Well, some deep wards being thrown down by KOO at this point. KT getting 1 in the enemy jungle. But so far, a pretty passive early game, isn't it?
Yeah, especially. And these teams have also kind of gone away from lane swapping. They were so forced into it, I feel like, from the group stages. And then as soon as they're playing each other, they just go straight back to LCK style. Like, especially during the LCK regular season, they're almost never doing the early turret killing and swapping. And all these other teams were just like forcing them into playing the same game.
Yeah.
But now they're just like, you know what, we don't have to do it if the other guys aren't.
It's interesting to see because, yeah, like you said, I mean, I feel like I'm right back in the OGN studio right now, man, casting some LCK. KOO Tigers, though, didn't have that flare back in summer season. But hopefully we do in spring season. Hint, hint, Riot, hint, hint. Pretty pleased.
I never want that to leave the game.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love it. That's
too entertaining.
It really is.
Nice harass by KOO down on the bottom side there as well. They did manage to get the small Krug, but I think KOO denied KT off of a few early minions.
Oh, taunt onto Peekaboo. He's going to take a lot of damage early on, and Frey actually able to escape quite a bit. Gorilla getting poked on his way out, but things are not too bad.
Yeah, Peekaboo opting for the pulverized right at first, but be able to sustain that pretty nicely. And Nagbe and Kuro just standing right next to each other.
I guess so. Man, this bot lane has been aggressive for both sides.
Finding some opportunities. I mean, heavy trading really across the map. Only top side. Taking it easy, chilling out right now.
Yep.
The SMEB Sunday matchup has been so fascinating because they are kind of the 2 carry top laners we were expecting coming from Korea before Marin decided to outclass all of them in the group stage. But this one in particular, SMEB going back to the Fiora well again and again. And before the Fiora rework, Malphite would have been a counterpick for that. But now it's so easy for Fiora to repost those spells that it's actually a Fiora-favored lane before the team fight phase.
It's an interesting invade very early on here from Hojin. They're going to collapse. They have pressure in mid and bottom, so nice red steal here from the KOO Tigers.
Yeah, and if they're able to get this from Score, if Score can't steal it away, they'll be probably able to triple buff it. Nope, Score smote a little bit early. And so the KOO Tigers, once they claimed that blue back on their side of the map, should have succeeded in triple buffing KT.
That was a really clever use of lane pressure there, too,
yeah.
And knowledge of where exactly Score would be pathing to make it out very quickly over to the enemy red buff and go ahead and steal it away. So denying some of Score's early pressure. Nice job there by Hojin, really communicating well with his team.
Yeah, and we also have to note that Someday was given the blue buff by the Rek'Sai early on in the laning phase during the double jungle phase. It's pretty common that that happens with the Rek'Sai and the Malphite, and it will allow him to harass SMEB very heavily in the early laning phase. Normally, Malphite is gated by mana as far as using his Q aggressively. Not this time, though. It's why it's done.
And one of those things about Malphite, and it's funny to see KT using the Malphite because KOO was the one to bring the Malphite back into the meta, right? But
everybody kind of went after it after they saw it work against Najin, though. Yeah,
and it's true, but it was, you really have to credit SMEB and the rest of KOO for setting that up and showing how it could be used. And one of those factors is really that, you know, the passive for Malphite, it gives him basically a free armor death tap. it's 30% additional armor passively. So when it comes to just getting over that early hump with the blue buff, and then laning against the Fiora, or actually just surviving against these high damage top laners, AD top laners later on, you really do have such a power in terms of survivability.
Armor death cap, huh?
That's pretty much what it is.
I think I saw one of those at the Tower of London, but I might be mistaken. A lot of stuff like that there.
Did you try it on?
No, it's behind glass. Probably would have killed me.
I never understood why somebody would want to put something on their head called a death cap.
I don't know, it doesn't sound good. Oh, I mean, you got the sorting hat in Harry Potter. That sounds friendly, sorting hat.
Yeah.
People like organization, you know.
The death cap just sorts you right into the afterlife.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to wear that. No hats for me.
That's why our support player.
Exactly.
Very rarely can you
never
wear the death cap.
I mean, I will probably more often than other support players, but that's just a personal thing. Come on, Glitter Lance. Glitter Lance. Oh. Not going to stop the recall. Meanwhile, a lot of pressure on this bot lane from Praying Gorilla.
Yeah, and it's been strong lane pressure from the KOO Tigers. And this is actually something Yamato brought up on the desk. He wanted to see a more consistent jungle path from Hojin. Even though he took a big risk early with the invade, he has been in a much more farm-centric style and not really exposing himself for ganks. It's giving a more leveled early game for KOO here, and they haven't had the risk of falling behind necessarily.
Hojin opting for the Amp Tome early, though, so more damage-oriented build. Score once again fast on the Sightstone, and he's going to take that opportunity to go ahead and plow through the bottom side jungle, get a bunch of wards up.
Really fast on the Sightstone. That's a increase. It's like a 6-minute Sightstone.
Yep.
His average is 11, which is faster than Hojin, who is sitting at 13:38, who's actually one of the slowest. This is exceptionally quick.
I feel like they saw the power that getting that early vision in the jungle had in the early stages of late game, and even though they lost that game, they really were in control for a long time.
Well, Sunday's just been left on his own in the top side now. He's just going to try and farm underneath his turret. He is level 6, so he has some ways to get out of any ganks that come through. And there are tons of Sentinels patrolling the bottom side jungle here, deep wards in from that Sightstone, so they want to push forward with this Callista and in the mid lane try and start playing a little bit more aggressively while Sunday just very passively scales in the top side.
Yeah. So,
as
top lane, I feel like I'm watching Mundo versus Mundo here. Come on.
Well, as far as CS deficits go, this is totally acceptable for the Malphite. Malphite's the type of champion that can be down 60 CS in lane, and because of his armor multiplier on his passes, still be completely fine.
Well, he's kind of an ult bot too. You know, you need him to show up in team fights and knock a bunch of people into the air, and if he can do that, it doesn't really matter too much if he dies immediately after that. Nagne pushing up the lane, but still going to be very even between Kuro and Nagne. Question is, when is the action going to begin?
Well, if you're KT, you're probably hoping it's going to start beginning sometime relatively soon, because it is a lot about their ability to make these plays and snowball, because they are going to have a gold advantage if they want to keep dealing damage in the late game.
I mean, some days level 6, you've got that ult, you've got the ult on Lulu as well too. You can start making those plays, can't you?
Yeah, somewhat. It's just as long as he's pushed under his turret by Smeb, he doesn't want to leave lane to go make a play, because that creates a jump of gold for KOO. KOO has typically been making the majority of their moves between the 10 and 15-minute mark. That's just a statistic, though. It doesn't mean they're going to be suddenly aggressive at 10 to 15 minutes. But generally, when KOO has been getting their ultimates, mainly on Prey for the AD carry, is when we'd expect to see the action. KOO has been more the team to take initiative in that phase of the game so far. It was.
Didn't see a ton of hugely impactful dash arrows in the early part. I don't know. I was kind of wondering about that.
What a waste of 100 gold.
That's a weird pink word right there.
Pretty sure it is. One thing though we haven't really talked about is that even though KT may have some issues playing out the late game, does KOO really have an answer to getting onto Arrow? Because Arrow is the main damage source. He has to be shut down here. And it's kind of up to Victor to do that, but that is a little bit hard to get back to where Arrow is with the amount of peel that's on this team. And the fact that Victor and Ashe are going to be main targets for Alistar and Malphite. I mean, you have to think about it. They effectively have 2 Malphite ults with the Alistar-Malphite combination to use onto the back line.
Oh, not to mention the Wild Growth as well. They have a lot of knockups. And Nagne doing a lot of damage to Kuro. There's a Wild Growth for the knockup. Can he actually take him out? Oh, wow, that stun probably saved Kuro's life. He had his flash, but he would have had to at least use that. And Hojin jumping on to score, doing a bit of damage before backing away.
Yeah, one combo gets him down to about 50%, so just taking that opportunity. But this is a great time as the blue buff is spawning.
Yep. Ray knocked up. Gorilla actually goes in for the taunt on the arrow to try to prevent damage to his AD carry. A lot of damage done all around, but some potions should heal that right back up.
Yeah, that was actually a really smart timing for Score to go into the jungle, working with his laners to make the invade happen. Nagne pushed Kuro back to base, so even if Hojin is laying in wait, he can still get the deep wards. Yes, Score took about half his health bar in damage. Rek'Sai has nice sustain in the jungle, though. He wanted to refill the Sightstone anyway. He puts the wards down, goes back and refills the Sightstone. It's just an efficient, smart play there by KT.
Yeah.
It does make them a bit leery. They saw the blue buff there, but they didn't decide to attempt to steal.
There's a hot shot. Gorilla goes for another taunt. And Prey scoping things out in the enemy jungle just to make sure no one's coming in. They do have Hojin coming down to help them out possibly.
Yeah, and even though we're saying KT has very low damage, if they can successfully protect Arrow, Lulu is the great enabler of all AD carries. It works a little bit better with things like Jinx and Kog'Maw because you're really increasing their mobility. Kalista is already exceedingly mobile, and the Lulu actually doesn't add too much to that. But what Lulu does add is survivability and damage to the Kalista, who's already an unstoppable force when chasing you.
Yeah.
So honestly, if Arrow can keep his farm up with Prey, he brought the cleanse. So the fact that he's staying even in lane is a bit of a testament to him here, because cleanse is not that strong of an early gaming summoner spell. I've seen Jugger Kalista work plenty of times.
Yeah, it's going to have to here. And again, what you're saying with that cleanse, there's a lot of single target CC on Ku, but the cleanse is going to be very useful for getting out of that situation, for continuing to output that damage. And even if he gets caught out by a taunt, by an arrow, by a cocoon, he's going to be able to at least survive the first round of crowd control. And it's going to be very difficult for Ku to land 2 of those abilities. You can't really bank on that. Like 1, when you have 3 forms of like Lion, CC, kind of have that going for you. But getting another one will be quite difficult.
Oh, arrow comes through, connects with Nagne. Could be in trouble. Nice flash taunt from Gorilla. Nagne with the wild growth. Will he leave? No. First blood goes to Prey.
You know who doesn't have cleanse? Nagne. And It was a really nice CC chain there by Prey and Gorilla. Honestly, the accuracy on Prey's Ashe, this is why Ku Tigers plays Ashe more than any other team at Worlds, because they know exactly when to pressure. They catch KT in a lackadaisical state down bottom, are able to successfully roam through the entire river and make it through that brush, somehow undetected to get that move on Nagne. I'm going to go back and watch how they actually got into that brush.
Yeah, because there have been a lot of deep wards coming in, so Ku has been aware that the situation could occur, but there was a pink ward on that side of the river as it came in, so...
One does wonder.
In fact, Prey walked through the entire river undetected.
Wow.
Mainly, Score had the deep wards, but no wards in the river.
Problematic, especially, again, with that Kalista, who doesn't have great control over the minion wave of 4-2 items.
Yeah.
Here we go. Attempted a blue steal.
Yeah, and they're probably going to get it too, using that opportunity from the first kill on the Nagne to take that away. And KT favored by the fan vote right now, but Ku, I think, holding all the cards early on in Game 3.
Still a very close game, but 13 minutes certainly having that advantage, and KT just hasn't been able to make any of the plays yet.
We've certainly seen in the series that early game leads are not everything.
Yeah, and I also don't think KT's necessarily ready to try and make a play yet. They have such low damage, and also the initial items aren't really huge damage items for them. They're going Athene's Unholy Grail on Nagne's Lulu. Someday still needs to build up his tank itemization. Really, when Nagne hits Death Cap, and when Arrow has his Hurricane as well as the Blade of the Ruined King, and maybe even a QSS on top of that to double with his cleanse, is when KT wants to fight. So really, I think KT wants to keep this game close until about 25 minutes, and even though they are a mid-game team, they need to wait until mid-game. They have a very precise power window where they spike super hard, and I think they're waiting for that moment.
Yeah, we talk about that Kalista 2-item power spike all the time, but the amount, if she has proper protection, which she absolutely does with this particular team composition, she will spike in terms of just getting AoE damage off with the Ruined Hurricane in the team fight is absolutely massive.
One turret goes down, Gorilla comes over the wall, gets knocked up right after the top from score. Ashero comes in, they layer the CC just a bit, but it seems like it could be enough. Peekaboo over the wall with the flash pulverizing, and the knock-up on the Gorilla. Looks like Score's gonna make it out. Meanwhile, a big melee down in the river. There's a catch onto Someday. It's pretty tanky, but they might be able to take him out. KT definitely on the run, though. Hawkshot reveals where KT is running to. And KOO Tigers may be content to just try to take Dragon off of this.
All 4 TPs used in that little skirmish there by the two teams. And KT just trying to desperately disengage, as we did see Score get a little bit caught out. Who comes away with the upper hand, and that'll net the first Dragon.
They chunk KT so low in this, and they know they expended the teleport, so there's no way for KT to actually make it back to the mid lane in time.
Wow. Mid lane turret taken out by KOO Tigers. Able to equalize there, and with that Dragon, able to pull a little bit of a gold lead. The only kill in the game is theirs as well.
And they've maintained that gold lead by trading the turret. They're just up a Dragon now, so KT hanging in there for the moment, but KOO definitely making the most of that little skirmish that, even though there weren't any kills, still able to find 2 objectives.
Yeah, I mean, it looks so awkward too, because KT kept trying to maybe go in and do damage, but there just wasn't any damage to be done, so they just sort of got poked up and poked out and eventually ran away.
KT's not ready to do damage yet, and it's all on KOO to catch KT while warding. That's the windows they have. In order for KT to play their slow game and reach their power spikes, they need to have deep vision. So the weakest point in that case is the person getting deep vision, which is why they're continually trying to catch Score. In that case, they didn't get the kills, but they still got rewards afterwards, specifically while he was trying to ward deep.
And the response to the pick pressure from KOO when they go in for those wards, we saw how much Score was punished. Hojin is going for the Runeglaive again, so we're talking about very high damage here. Burst potential.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
I feel like about 80% plus of Elise's Hero Worlds have gone for Runeglaive. You can still build tankiness after the fact, and the clear speed as well as keeping your mana high on the Elise is just really heavily valued by these jumpers here.
Well, we've seen that in 2 games now from Hojin, and not only that, but he actually went for the Rylai's as a finisher item, so he was really concerned with how much damage he was going to deal in that last game.
True enough. Well, now that the Dragon is gone, just like we saw in a lot of other games between these two teams, a lot of teams in Korea will probably have a bit of time before anything really happens again. And what we really saw in Korea in the summer season is that it was a very Dragon-focused season, you know?
Yeah.
There was Dragon fights, and outside of that, there wasn't a whole lot of action.
This really feels like we've time traveled back to the LCK playoffs.
Yeah.
Aside from a few different champion picks, because all these world meta things that have happened with the change in play styles and teams, you know, doing things outside of Dragon fights, all forgotten.
Yeah, Fiora is about it, really.
I don't know if that's quite fair. We had quite a lot of action at the top side in the last game, and a bunch of...
Specifically this
game.
Yeah, this game.
This game
is definitely...
Yeah. I agree. The last 2 games were very exciting and very different than some of the more slugfest games. And now, finally, some split push pressure. Initiated, honestly, by KT running up top lane with the Kalista.
Yeah. KOO able to take that turret down in bot lane, though, evening that up.
You can see the gold focus, though, definitely going on to Arrow. They really need him to be farmed up here. And so just pushing ahead with him on that. And Someday taking the hit for the team, knowing that he doesn't have to be that farmed up to be effective against the KOO composition. And so just safely farming at tier 2. And KOO's going to push in and again for another blue steal, but KT knows they're coming with those deep wards they managed to achieve.
Can they stop it, though? Again, they don't have a ton of damage yet.
They've hit a few decent breakpoints, though. NLR on the Lulu and a recurve plus working on Kalista, so they're ready to fight.
Repel, they're going to go after Smeb now as Hojin backs into the river. Smeb forced to flash over the wall. Arrow comes down onto Peekaboo from Praise Ash, but no follow-up there. Oh, never mind. Unstoppable force. For Someday, another nice knockup comes in, courtesy of Peekaboo, and KOO in a lot of trouble now. Prey will go down. A kill for Peekaboo, so bloodthirsty, and Smeb grabs one, or gets grabbed as well.
We mentioned they had 2 Malphite ultimates. Well, they actually have 3 because Kalista can throw the Alistair in for an AoE knockup before the Pulverize.
Hey, how about Wild Growth there for number 4?
4 Malphite ultimates. And when you can land the first one on 3 people, you're probably doing pretty well. What a nice initiation by Someday. Godlike, I would say.
That was the Wombo combo that they've been looking for. That is exactly what this team composition needs to do this
Holy
game.
moly.
Yeah, they did it, but they didn't get that much of a lead, right? So they're still only about a K up right now, but let's take a look. So this is not where you want the Arrow and Cocoon to go, and this is what causes them to engage. Koo knows that they need to get out. So there's the flash, 3-man right there. Here comes Arrow, Peekaboo from the side, flash pull, comes on in, and Prey caught right out at the front, has to flash over, still gonna end up going down in this fight. And here's Arrow, very aggressively with the Wild Growth flashing over the wall.
Yeah, it looks like they gave Arrow the Wild Growth really early just to say, go get him, champ.
They just wanted to get him in
Don't worry about getting one shot.
You're tanky now, don't worry.
Yeah, I mean, that's KT flipping a switch and saying we are now strong enough. They didn't quite get to Death Cap or Hurricane, but they had the core attack speed items. They also saw the window with Koo expending the Ash Arrow beforehand and saw that they had to funnel through a choke point. So really just biding their time 20 minutes in, taking a few hits early game, and then finding their window to pull themselves back.
You really cannot get yourself in those narrow choke points against the Malphites that we've seen in Korea. Otherwise, that is exactly what happens to you every time. Smeb doing a good job of taking some health off of Someday. Looks like he might be able to get this turret. Smeb wants a bit of revenge for that last team fight. He's going to pop the ultimate on the Someday score. Comes back through again. You have to flash if he wants to go over that wall.
Well, I got the turret in the end.
All right, it worked. Distracted him so the Winions could do their job.
Tremendous amount of pressure, and that actually gives him the Dragon as well. I'm very surprised by KT to commit so heavily there when they knew they had some decent team fighting strength, especially since they couldn't save the turret.
Yep, Blue Tigers went for that second Dragon, and they're going to pick it up pretty easily.
Koo is going to want to kill Peekaboo here.
Oh boy, Peekaboo, they're going to need to pull him out with that Fate's Call if he gets too much damage. There we go, Arrow gets hit by the Ash Arrow, backs away, Chaos Storm does a lot of damage, and Kuro with the kill there. And they're still going to keep pushing KT back. Too much damage coming in from that Victor, and Someday in a bit of trouble. No real way for him to escape here, except for that Whimsy from Lulu. I guess that's enough.
What is KT doing? I mean, no Malphite ults, coming back in on that. Very, very sloppy play from KT Rolster.
They waited so long and had that nice fight around their blue buff, and then to make such a foolish mistake right here, they'd already used teleport top lane. That is just pure greed, I feel like, from Peekaboo, and then trying to make up for a mistake. You know when you make one mistake and then you try and make an excuse and you start talking really fast and dropping all your words? That's basically the manifestation of what KT did at that Dragon fight, because everything went wrong for them and they gave up their lead.
I have no idea what that's like, by the way. Never happens to me.
It never happens.
For the record, just want to put that out there. Let's watch this fight again. Peekaboo. It feels like they want to do something to stop the Dragon. There's just nothing to be done.
Well, you have to give it up at that point in time. Peekaboo burns his ultimate, but this is so smart. Just get onto Arrow immediately. Great shot from Prey onto the back line, and that's the burst. And once the Kalista goes down, and Someday has no ultimate, there's not a lot of hope for this fight.
Yeah. They're tanky enough to get out of the fight, at least in the end, but still a big-time loss for KT. Kind of overestimating their position in the game, and Koo with the lead again now.
Such a back-and-forth series.
It really has been, yeah. It's been small mistakes on each side that have kind of tipped the scales back and forth in all 3 games so far.
I think that's ultimately what a lot of Worlds is about. So much of Worlds is about the human element and these guys being able to perform under pressure, because these are moves that you wouldn't necessarily expect KT to make in normal circumstances, but they made it here at Worlds. Well, they thought they were trying to go for a 2-1.
Dive this.
They really want to take out Kuro, but it's not working. Defensive Arrow comes in from Prey.
It's a good draw out of the Arrow, though, because KT has spent the last minute just trying to set up wards around this Baron.
Yeah.
And without that, Smeb is still split pushing in the bottom side.
All right, tier 2 turret in bot going down in favor of Koo Tigers. Really nothing that KT can do to stop this. Smeb doesn't have teleport though, so maybe KT can put some Baron pressure on, but they're headed back to the mid lane.
Well, if they leave the Baron right now, Koo will successfully take a turret and gain vision control over the Baron, so good gambit. And,
exactly what's happening.
Yeah, KT, they saw Victor pushing out again in the top side, but they didn't want to commit to that gank, so they're kind of just getting run around the map right now by the Tigers.
Suddenly a deficit for Koo turns into a 3,000 gold lead here at about 24 minutes. I think we really wanted that Raptor. Cared more about it than Chris Pratt cared about his raptors in Jurassic World.
Thank God. I still haven't seen that movie.
You're missing out, man.
No, I'm not. You are lying to me.
A T-Rex fights a bigger T-Rex. What more could you ask for?
I don't think you're doing a very good job of convincing me. Plot. You have a Pratt that's close to a plot.
It's close.
Yeah. You still don't think it's what you're looking for. Okay. You're so hard to please, Monte Cristo.
Hey, I like the first Jurassic Park. What can I say?
Well, I would say you have good taste.
You know, the new Jurassic World makes it like the other Jurassic Park movies didn't happen. Like it goes back to the same park years later.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it has the same plot that you so loved in the first movie.
Basically, nobody learned their lesson from the first movie, I guess. It's like nobody learned their lesson from the last game. Maybe.
Seems like it, or the lesson of not fighting Dragon when you can't group up.
I mean, that's really what it is. I mean, KT is just kind of taking some more fights here in games 2 and games 3 and unleash the dinosaurs of KOO Tigers, which it makes it sound like I'm saying they're old, but they're not. They're just powerful beasts.
Aren't tigers powerful enough for you? Do you really need to go to the whole dinosaur level?
Always. Always.
He's getting pretty powerful as well. The split push pressure is giving him a giant CS advantage. And Someday should be able to neutralize Smeb at the Nexus turret. I don't think Smeb will get to a point where he can actually dive the Malphite. But he's still going to be able to make sure Malphite has to consistently stay on the backside of the map.
Oh, Smeb. Jeez. Someday again. Man, that Fiora does a ton of damage after she gets a couple items.
Yeah, well, specifically the Vitals as well, because proccing those cuts through pretty much everything.
Yeah. Who knew Malphite had Vitals? I thought he was just a bunch of rock. Silly me.
No weak points that you can stab with your pretty little fencing foil.
Today I learned. KT's managed to sort of barely hold on in the last few minutes here, and it's less than a minute until the next Dragon now. That's really where things could go very right or very wrong for either one of these teams.
Already being 2 up, KOO. You'll be pretty comfortable.
I remember what happened in game 1, though. It was that third Dragon where KT had that big team fight to bring it all back. They've certainly got the items. Death Cap on Nagne. They've got the Runin's Hurricane onto Arrow now.
They'd love to have that Last Whisper, but it's not actually going to be that important considering that Hojin is the only one really with armor here.
Yeah, it's not a lot of armor.
Just a Warden's Mail, so it's not as crucial to this next team fight.
And I wonder if we're even going to get the straight-up team fight, because KOO Tigers has so much split push pressure with Smeb right now. I'm thinking they're going to try and run KT up and down that red side of their jungle again and again until they can pick off a squishy with an Ash Arrow. Because in a straight-up team fight, they'd still be in danger of that tremendous wombo combo that KT can put out.
Or they're just going to go for Dragon and fight it straight up.
That would be one of those things that KOO would want to do.
Score wants to get in to steal this one. He can't do it, though. KOO gets their third Dragon. Can they win the team fight someday? Coming from behind with the knockup. KOO on the run. Hojin and Smeb caught up in the backlines. Here comes Kuro, though. Arrow takes a lot of damage, but he gets a kill before he goes down onto Kuro. KT on the run. Anyway, though, Smeb gets the grand challenge, gets that big heal for KOO Tigers, and they will chase KT over the moment. Nope, they'll get the fight. There we go. Actually, it's going to be a triple kill in the end for Prey. That is an ace for the KOO Tigers.
Yeah, another really sloppy fight there from KT. Sure, they got in, but the big mistake, Peekaboo punted the Victor on top of his Callista right there.
Doesn't help.
And sure, it did get the kill, but Ash was totally safe on the backside of that fight to clean up. And a bit of an early Malphite ultimate there by Someday, too.
Well, they're going for Baron, and nothing is going to stop them from taking it now.
Except for Baron himself, if he can fight back now.
Yeah, he can't do that. He's not very strong after all.
KT was far too eager, I would say, for that fight. And honestly, I think KOO was too eager as well. I was expecting KOO to run back and forth because they did expose themselves to a potential wombo combo. And when we watched this replay, Smeb was actually on the far side of the Dragon Pit while they were forcing, so he didn't make it into this fight initially. It's just the fact that KT didn't take their time. With Lubu Callista, KT needs to kill frontline and move slowly. But Someday goes where his team can't follow.
Yep.
Arrow tries to go there, and they actually throw Peekaboo in, punt Koro on top of Arrow into all the threat. Like, Smeb had flank position, so there, more patience would have been worth a team fight. for KT. KOO played that well considering the circumstances they forced, and KT kind of took the bait, so to speak. Prey on the backside because he couldn't get closed on. Since his front line was so powerful, he was able to pick up a triple on the backside. And that fight in particular just gives KOO a massive edge in the game.
Yeah, 7,000 gold is the lead after they pick up that Baron post the fight. 3 dragons, a Baron, 4 turrets. KOO Tigers looking really good, and KT in that similar position that we saw them in last game, where they really do need like a miracle team fight again to bring it back. And while that is a possibility, it's becoming more and more remote as the game goes on.
I really am puzzled by that, especially that headbutt in that last fight, because certainly that can be a good move if you have a lot of burst. But remember, KT isn't running a composition with a lot of burst. They need a lot of targets over time for Arrow to whittle down with this Kalista. So by getting in range of the entire Victor combo.
Here we go. Nagne has a wild growth. Can he even stay alive? Smeb's going really deep, gets slowed, but oh man, that's a lot of damage. Wow. Gorilla using that Stand United to keep his top laner alive. Smeb coming in for a few parting shots on Someday as he backs out.
The second hit from Fiora's E is guaranteed to critically strike, and it's max ranked right now, so it is a full damage crit right there. Good night, Nagne. That's huge.
And this is some of the best Fiora play we've seen at this tournament so far. Smeb has been absolutely outstanding on this champion.
And I mean, look at this. KOO Tigers just taking turrets left and right now. It just doesn't seem like there's a lot KT can do. Someday, in danger of dying here, comes back in with that unstoppable force. Point blank, tries to set something up for Arrow and Peekaboo as they come in, but Smeb just taking some spears. He's going to go back in onto Someday. He gets the kill onto Someday, and he's fighting 1v3 before he finally gets shut down by Arrow.
And you know what, that's fine. They were sieging in the top side at the same time, managed to take an inhibitor, got another inhibitor turret, losing Smeb right there, considering he took down Someday with him. Not that big of a deal.
Yeah, I would say so.
He's 3 levels up now, Smeb, from this split push.
This is going to be so hard if KOO can close this out. So hard for KT to react to in the next game, because they've already defaulted to banning the Veigar in this match since they couldn't deal with it with Kuro. And Smeb picked Fiora very early on the red side. So with KT going to the red side next match, they have even fewer bans to work with. KOO has shown proficiency of playing specifically the Fiora and the Veigar to such success. Let's watch this solo kill again. A 3-level advantage, by the way.
Oh no, he's going after the vitals.
Yeah, whatever can you do? So it's 1 hit of the E, and then it's the second hit was the crit as well as the vital.
Yeah.
Just the most damage.
It's a lot. The last third of Lulu's health just disappeared. And yeah, if KOO Tigers take this game, they'll put themselves 1 win away from the semifinals, and a little bit of revenge for KT denying KOO Tigers a spot in the grand finals of Champion Summer.
It would be quite the turnaround, especially since KOO coming out of the groups, dropping those 2 games.
Nagne in trouble again. Smeb pushed away at the last moment by Peekaboo, though.
And if Smeb continues to be this effective, this game is over, because Nagne cannot protect Arrow in team fights, and really Arrow being protected is the only way for KOO to win these slow slogging team fights.
Very true.
The fights are way too fast with how much damage KOO has accumulated right now.
Well, he's making the Lulu Ultra Self, which is always the sign that things are going wrong. Someday comes in, well, there's Ash Arrow. Whoa, and Kuro picks up a kill. Peekaboo tries to re-engage. Arrow hopping away for his own safety. There we go, a nice big engage again. And I don't think there's a whole lot that KT can do at this point. Arrow keeping Smeb at bay for the moment. There's a flash W from Prey, and they are going to go for the win. Arrow, the last man standing, he goes down, and the KOO Tigers will take a dominating game number 3. There goes the Nexus. KOO Tigers 1 win away from the semifinals. GG.
Wow, and coming in, KT